Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Coddington, my fellow co-host and filmmaker, John Woolscroft.
I usually don't plan these things ahead of time. That's just usually just off the cuff of my insane head. But Brian, if you could cut to the 3-shot, we actually have competing who has the coolest T-shirt on right now.
We do?
You got Tales from the Crypt. We got our guest has got a Shining shirt on, and you can't see, but I got OCP from.
Well, I haven't even introduced who our guest is yet, John. Like, you're kind of jumping the gun here.
E.T., huh?
Oh, who's the voice of God there? Oh, well, we have a special guest with us today. One person that I have known longer than John. This is a person I've met all the way back. Tony, if you remember, 2007 was when you and I met in Horror Hound, Pittsburgh. We have with us Tony Wash, who has a laundry list of accomplishments and titles. He is the programming director of Screambox. He is an accomplished director and producer of movies like The Rake, Skeletons in the Closet, High on the Hog, and many, many others. And he also is here to talk with us today about a new project that he's working on called Better Luck Than Chuck, which sounds amazing. It's a what is it? A horror game show.
Horror trivia game show, yes.
Horror trivia game show. And Tony has a lot of experience with zombies, so it felt necessary to have Tony on to talk about 28 years later and its kind of its position in zombie history. Right? Yeah.
So, I think just right off the bat, I just want to ask both of you, where do you guys come down on fast zombies? And yes, Danny Boyle, they're zombies. I know they're supposed to be the rage infected, but for simplistic terms, they're zombies, right? How do you guys come down on the difference between fast and slow zombies?
Tony, I'll let you take it. You're a guest.
I think that given audiences, desire for like a more aggressive scare nowadays, I think it's really important that fast zombies exist. I obviously I grew up in the video store era, so I'm accustomed to the Romero zombies of yesterday. And, I don't think anybody's ever going to be able to make something as cool as Day of the Dead. The first time seeing the zombies rip that dude's head off and the lieutenant at the end getting his guts pulled out and saying choke on him, I don't think anybody's ever going to be able to compare to that. But at the end of the day, I do think there's a lot of merit with the more modern zombie movies, like the remake to Dawn of the Dead. I thought that the zombies, that first scene when Sarah Polley, is in her house that morning after her shift and that first zombie attacks her, it's pretty like awe-inspiring, because you're like, holy shit, I didn't expect that at all. And so I definitely think it has its place in the evolution of cinematic zombieisms and whatnot.
I am a mixed bag on it. I for the longest time, I kid you not, I never really liked the fast zombies just because the logic didn't make sense to me. Like, if you're dead, then the body starts to do like decay and rigor mortis and all that fun stuff, and the muscles aren't working the way they should. So like that's what always made sense to me about zombies, was that they were not necessarily a scary thing from the standpoint of like a single zombie could kill you. It's like you could pretty much take out a single zombie fairly easily, right? It's the horde. That's what always was the terrifying thing, is the horde, right? And when they're shambling hordes, massive shambling hordes, I think there's scare to that. Now, the 28 years and 28 weeks and 28 days zombies have started to grow on me a little bit, especially after watching this film, because of their sheer brutality. Like, I think that's the big thing. Like, Tony, you mentioned about the lieutenant at the end screaming choke on it. Like, I can only imagine what would happen. Like, I don't even think there would be a lieutenant to say choke on it if those zombies were rage virus zombies. Like, I think they would like rip his head off before he even had a chance to say choke on it. So they've grown on me. I do think they're different, and I do think that they're almost like a certain subspecies of zombies. So I don't know if I necessarily would classify them in the same group as like Romero zombies, or even like, you know, Return of the Living Dead zombies, which I think are my most favorite in terms of how fun they are.
Yeah.
You know, but I did find a lot of similarities with this film, with film Land of the Dead. So just little bits of I don't want to spoil the whole film for a lot of people. But you know, this film really centers on the search for something and really encountering smarter zombies than we're used to. And that kind of fits a little bit with Land of the Dead, where you had, what was the name of the zombie, John?
Oh, wait, in Land of the Dead?
Yeah.
Let me
The
check,
smart
let me
one.
check. I'm blanking.
It was Bub. It wasn't Bub.
No,
No,
Bub was Day of the Dead.
Bob was Day of the Dead. I feel like it was Zed or something like that. It was like something like simple, like Jed or Jeb.
Yeah.
Something.
But my
name on his
Big Daddy, is that it?
Big Daddy. That's it.
Yeah.
But my whole point is like I don't get why we suddenly have to make the zombies smarter. Like I'd ask you all this question, both of you. Like why does the zombie have to be smart in these films? Because that's what happened in this film.
I think it's one of those, by the time you get to the third film, you're kind of in a situation where you have to raise the stakes. Like I just would compare this to, you know, Jurassic Park. Like the first film was our introduction to dinosaurs. The second film was like our reintroduction to the dinosaurs. But even by the time we got to that third film, the very forgettable Jurassic Park 3, they're trying to introduce new dinosaurs that are even bigger than the T-Rex, or even, you know, this or that. And then you get to the Jurassic World ones, and we have genetically modified dinosaurs that are really just, you know, monsters made in a test tube. And I feel that they probably got to a point where it's like, well, we've seen it now twice, but what if some of them have evolved and they can kind of be like almost like a dumbass version of Predator? They can actually like hunt and think and, you know, plan their attacks. I think it's just to try to keep it fresh.
Yeah.
Well, and they did that same thing in The Last of Us season 2, where in the first season, you know, these creatures were running around and they were fast and they would attack people. But then you look at like they ultimately didn't have like the cognitive ability to hunt. And then in season 2, in order to up the ante, because it's like all you can really do aside from just throw thousands of these creatures at the people who are now fortifying their villages and stuff, is like actually creating these creatures that are smarter and are able to actually stalk their prey. Which I don't really know. In general, the second season of Last of Us kind of it felt very flat for me. And so I don't know if I'll be revisiting that if they do a third season, but I think that it's again just that natural evolution of, you know, you have to look at the monster movies of the 50s, even before the original Night of the Living Dead came out in the 60s. And those movies, you watch Attack of the, you know, Giant Leeches, or even The Thing from Another World, which is my favorite, or Creature from Black Lagoon, which is my favorite Universal monster. They are so hokey and they're so slow and they're so like they're theatrically shot. Like you always have everybody standing in a line talking throughout the entire scene. There's no actual cutting during dialogue or anything to make it more dynamic and faster paced. And so I think that the natural evolution of the cinematic experience is lending itself to having to find a way to make zombies more aggressive and scarier, because the shambling zombie is just not scary. And even if there's 1,000 of them coming after a person, all they have to do is find a building and get on the roof, or, you know, a tower and climb up the ladder, or anything like that. And I think that, you know, those elements are effective in certain situations like Tremors, where it's like, okay, the creatures are under the ground. So, everybody loves Tremors. How can you not? But it's like, that was great because the crux of the creature was that they can't go anywhere until you get to Tremors 2, where they had to evolve it, because if you make Tremors 1 all over again, it's boring. So in Tremors 2, the worms, the graboids have babies. The babies basically can fly. And now it's
ass blasters.
The ass blasters, and now you're fucked. Because you're not safe anywhere, you know,
no.
short to being in a metal tin or something. So
the only thing I would come back with, and this has just always been my thoughts on the zombie films and why they work, is the human drama. That it's not so much what's outside, you know what I mean? It's what pressure cooker is inside. Like that's why movies like Night of the Living Dead, and even this film, and like all the 28 days and weeks and now years, kind of all are centered on the human drama element of it, right? Like that's kind of what this film is, you know, obviously a boy trying to find a doctor for his sick mother, encountering zombies and all manner of hell. Like that sort of thing is the human drama, the human side. That's then kind of compounded by what exterior terrors are out there.
Well,
the cynical part of me also thinks, and this is the cynic here, that one really smart zombie is a lot cheaper than a horde of a bunch of fast zombies that aren't smart. Like this is like filmmaker brain going like, if I can spend my budget on making one really scary fucking zombie that shows up in about 10 to 20 scenes, that's gonna, you know, I can focus on that rather than hire a bunch of extras, hire a bunch of people, spend all the money on makeup and everything, and even like maybe have a CGRs do a whole bunch of, you know, what was the one movie that Brad Pitt was in about the zombies? World War Z. Like a bunch of CGI zombies. That's expensive. But one really scary zombie, it's a lot cheaper. Well, that's the cynical side of me.
You hit the nail right on the head. It's show business. You know, like if you can find a creative way, and clever way for the studio to save money, and it's not obvious, it's not like a Corman, you know, workaround, then like brava. I'm sure that, you know, that's an easier script to get greenlit. But you know, I agree with you, O'Brien. Like the real villain in zombie movies is not the zombies. Like that's like being mad at a dog that's rabid, right? Like the dog, it's diseased. It doesn't know any better. It has to be humanely put down. Where, you know, and that's the same thing with zombies. Like it's really the villain is man. You know, and any great zombie story, and it's harder to do that with fast zombies, you know. But you know, I look at this movie in comparison to the original one, you know, days as compared to years, and this one is more about the human experience, the most recent one, you know, 28 years later, and what it means to be human in this world, and what it means to have lost connection to things that we take for granted, like modern medicine and what have you. Where 28 days later, I think the brilliance of that movie is that they find a way for the third act to suddenly introduce the real threat of the film. Not that these really fast zombies are, but like, a group of guys that just want to turn women into sex slaves, you know, because they want to repopulate the earth, and they like, well, you know, we'll just capture people, bring them in, do away with the men, get the women as our, you know. So it's like, again, the real villain is man. But when they are faster, it's kind of harder to do that because, as I said, I'm sorry to be rambling on too much here, but then Night of the Living Dead, the remake in 1990, you know, Patricia Tallman, Barbara says like, they're so slow. Let's just leave and walk right by them.
Yep.
You know, and so there is that issue, is that unless you write in that there's like a whole mob or horde of them that you can't like sneak through, you could probably maneuver and weave your way through zombies. So the idea that 2003 came around and they're like, well, what if we made them fast? I'm like, good, because that's at least separating you from Romero, and I'm very protective in that sense. But
I mean, and the way I look at it is just in general with the zombie kind of subgenre, I feel burned out by it. I'm not overly thrilled when zombie movies come out, and it's nothing against Danny Boyle or 28 years later, because I do generally across the board like that franchise. I think that the rage virus is kind of a cool twist on the zombie styling of a movie, but like based on how at least the first two movies looked, it's like the end of the first movie basically ends where it's like all of the people with the rage virus are like starving to death, and that's how it dies off and ends, is that they're not dead, they're actually just like infected, like rabid. And so when they run out of food sources, they die of starvation, and then everything's back to normal again. And so I kind of enjoy that twist for this franchise versus the generic kind of zombie storyline. I think the biggest problem I have is the oversaturation of zombie genres being, or the zombie story being, a allegory for people are the problem. I feel like every zombie movie has the people being the problem, and I'm just sick of it. I'm kind of over it. Like, I feel like Romero did it. He proved a point with his social commentary 60 years ago, 70 years ago at this point. We don't need to continue doing that over and over again. It's like, we get it. The Walking Dead spent how many years? How many?
They're still doing it.
Yeah, and it's
aren't
like,
they still doing it? Like,
yeah,
it's like the zombies aren't even a fixture anymore in shows like that. It's all about the people and who's the new bad guy, who's the new governor, or who's the new Keegan or whatever his name is. Negan. Yeah, I stopped watching after like probably the 5th season of Walking Dead, because I was literally like, I don't care anymore about the conflicts with other people. There's a shit ton of assholes out there. Find more bullets and just fucking shoot them. Like be done with it. Like I don't have the patience for that type of stuff. And that's the other thing, is I feel like zombie movies as a whole only succeed because the people in them are ignorant to the fact that patience will probably prevail. It's like they're always like getting claustrophobic and they can't handle it anymore, so they happen to put a chink in the armor, and then all hell breaks loose. You know what I mean? So that makes
yeah, no, you're absolutely right. There is a common thread in just about every zombie movie of one person who's like, their common sense just goes out the window. Like, don't get me wrong, a lot of shit happening. You're trying not to get eaten. The fact that they're, the living dead outside trying to actively eat you. Maybe you saw some guy. I get it. But like, I'll go back to Night of the Living Dead. Okay, I know this episode is not necessarily about Night of the Living Dead. But
Johnny?
No. But what I was going to say is the one character, Judy, who is like, I got to go outside. It's like, you should just stay in the fucking house. Like, but you're right, Tony. Like, one person has to cause all hell. And because she got out of the house, the car blew up, everybody died, and now it's like Ben's stuck in the basement. He has to go in the basement, and then he gets shot because Judy fucked up.
Well, yeah, it's,
the whole thing's really, Judy's fault. It's Cooper's bad, but it's the problem.
I hate that whole, but that's my brother. That's not your brother anymore. That old chestnut in zombie movies. But yeah, to kind of like go off of this film, just very briefly, like I don't like big time jumps in zombie stories, because basically what this movie is that we have an island that has learned to be self-sufficient. They have crops, they have eggs, chickens for eggs. And the idea is that, sure, you need more supplies here and there. So when boys become of a certain age, they go off and try to find supplies on the mainland, because they have a tiny bridge that's water controlled. When the water comes up too much, you can't go back. You got to wait for the shallows to come in, and then you can get back. The idea being that, like, when you leave, though, if you don't come back, nobody's coming looking for you, because it's a rage virus. It's instantaneous. So if you come back, we'll let you back in. But if you don't, no one's coming to look for you, but I'm thinking this whole time, I'm like, yeah, I understand that you need more supplies and that you need to have willing and able young men to go out into the unknown, and search for these things. But it's also harder for me to kind of take that there's tension when you do have vegetables and probably potatoes and eggs, and you're secure in this island that you're okay. It's like, it reminds me of the time jump from Walking Dead. I'm like, wait, what anxiety do I feel when 7 years have passed and everybody seems to be flourishing? where I compare it to the first, and don't get me wrong, Psycho's Nation, I like this movie, but when I compare it to 28 Days Later, like everything is now happening in the moment. We have this small group of people just desperately trying to survive and doesn't know where to go. Like, there's more tension there than a society that's like, yeah, well, maybe we'll head out, maybe we won't, but we'll have some egg whites and a couple spuds later. We're fine.
It's like they have to. It's the inherent problem of creating a movie in this kind of situation. Sinners was no different, where vampire movies suffer from the same situation as a zombie, where it's what you were saying is like, that's my brother, that's not your brother. And Sinners did the same thing, where it's like, that's a fucking vampire. Why are you gonna be like wooed into submission to like let them in to this place, when you guys would literally be fine if you would just sit there throughout the night singing Kumbaya or some shit, and then the next morning you get up and you leave and the vampires are gone and everybody's happy. It's the same thing. It's like, that's what I love about Max Brooks' like zombie survival guide book that came out like 20 years ago. I always loved that, because when I was younger, I always said, if I ever made a zombie movie, I would want the main characters to be smart. And I would want someone to not necessarily outsmart them or for them to fall apart on their own doings. It would be something else that would put the chink in the armor. But like when Max Brooks says in there, he's like, the first thing you do is you fill your bathtub up with water, like as with any survival situation, which is super smart. And the second thing is you take an axe to your stairs and you knock the stairs out, because zombies aren't going to be able to come up to the second floor of your house if they can't get up the stairs. And I'm like, that's freaking brilliant. And then, of course, a few years later, you've got all these, fast zombie movies where they can now climb ladders and fly airplanes and shit like that. I mean,
they can eat a mushroom and just be, grow like Super Mario Brothers and jump up the stairs that are broken.
Exactly.
Oh, a brains, yeah.
That's just the problem that I generally have with the zombie subgenre as a whole, and even kind of branching into the vampire movies that are set up in that same situation, where it's always like the person who's just susceptible to like, being stupid. It's like, don't be stupid. Think about yourself and be, survival instinct is a thing. And I think the thing though is that those sort of moments there, as an audience member, those are the most fun. Because I know, Tony, you're probably just like me. Not for me, yeah.
Well, I know it means like you're probably yelling at the screen, what the fuck are you doing? Like, but that's the moment where you as the audience member are interacting with the movie. Like, where you're caring about what's happening. And for a movie to do that is impressive regardless. But I do agree with you that zombie movies, and to some degree vampire movies, I loved Sinners. So like that. But I know which part you're talking about.
I really enjoyed Sinners. It's just that one part.
The one woman who's like, you just had to sit there and chill, but you were the one who said, go ahead, come the fuck in. It's
come on in. I know my husband's a vampire. I know he's dead, but I'm going to let him come in anyway.
Yeah.
Well,
you're sitting there at the keyboard on a screenplay going, oh, fuck, how do I get these damn vampires in? Why somebody loses their cool? Yeah.
But that's the problem I have, is that it's like you're the audience is supposed to be okay with the excuse of, I couldn't think of a better way to get us through to the next situation. And that's not how you write a script. And I'm not God's gift to screenwriting by any means. I'm not a very good writer, in my opinion. But when I look at like Aliens, and I understand Aliens is almost a 40-year-old movie at this point, but Aliens never, like James Cameron never put the characters into a situation where stupidity caused them to be that was their failure, was their own stupidity or their own impatience or their own ignorance. It was like one person doing stupid shit, which I'm okay with. And to an extent, that's what happens in Sinners. But like, I just feel like there's so many other opportunities to not fall into a trope that a vampire movie, you can't let him in. Oh, well, let's invite him in anyway. We'll find a way to invite him in. And that's what happens, or in the case of a zombie movie, oh, well, we have to go outside. Or like you said, we're not content with egg whites and potatoes. So we need to go try and catch a rabbit or some shit, on the mainland.
Well, I will say this about 28 years later, is that I do like that the movie is more of a focus on trying to get somebody help. The the movie has our main boy character,
Spike.
His father
Spike.
and his sickly mother. We don't know what's wrong with her, and we find out that there's a doctor out there in the wild, and they're like, oh well,
Played by Voldemort.
yeah. Ralph Fiennes. No,
Ralph Fiennes, as I heard his name.
Yeah. Ray Fiennes, but like they're like, yeah, don't go around him. He's fucking crazy. But you know, and so, but he's like, wait, my mom's sick. She's not getting any better. Like, I have to try to get her to him. It's not, as we mentioned, Walking Dead, where it's not the governor, it's not Negan, it's not Alpha. You know, it's not some human as part of some other group. It's more of a matter of trying to survive as a boy who has just learned to hunt and has failed, and has to try to save his mother. So not only is he not great out in the field, he's as green as green gets, but he's got a mother who is suffering from cancer related brain issues. We find out later, obviously, that it's cancer, and having to try to get her along in this just to try to find the doctor that he may not find. You know, so I'm glad it's not a matter of like, well, we have this warring faction between, you know, we're the enablers and they're the defenders and some bullshit names.
That sort of thing happened with the Last of Us season 2.
Yeah.
Where they kind of went down that path of like, let's go into this whole warring faction. Now, granted, I will be the first to say this, and Tony and John, I don't know if you played the games. I did not, because I don't have time. Okay, good. I'm glad it's not just me,
okay,
Tony.
Well, yeah, no, I will say, you can't see my hand again, is that I have played the games, and
okay,
they are two of the greatest video games of all time. Like, if you are a video game person and you like this genre,
I believe that, but audience, I just know know for me and my wife, we're not gamers, you know, right. Despite having children who do game. But like for us, watching the series more or less was like all those events that were in the game unfolding. Well, and when you get to this whole thing where there's two different warring factions, I'm like, I thought this was all about the drama between, you know, these two characters. And now we're suddenly adding this other factor. I'm like, this feels like we're losing the plot of what this is all about.
All right. Yeah, we're sidebarred here. So
I know.
No. But
it's relevant to the movie, because this movie, as you said, is mostly about human drama.
But yeah, to add to that, interestingly, from being the only person here who's played the video games, I have not actually watched season 2. But I learned that so many people were upset about it, and I'm like thinking, you guys clearly never played the fucking game, because this is the second game, and if you like give it the long haul, you'll see that it's worth it in the end. Because I remember, and I guess maybe plug your ears, audience, for the next 10 secons if you haven't seen the last.
No, I don't want them to plug their ears. I want them to listen to the podcast show.
Well, no, just for 10 seconds. Is that Joel dying? I played the game, and he died. He dies at basically the beginning of the game, and I was fucking pissed, especially when I had to play as the characters that killed him in the game. But like when people were pissed off about like the him dying in the show, I wanted to be like, you know, that James Franco meme, first time with the noose around his neck, like, you clearly didn't play the game.
That
you weren't ready for it.
That never bothered me. What bothered me was that where they started to introduce all of this whole drama between like these tribal people and the, you know, basically the militias that were in the city, and they added, what was it called?
Wolf, right?
Yeah, the wolf. So like, I understand that they had to grow this the universe that this series is in for season 2, and I know that's part of the game, but to me it felt like it took away a little bit from the drama of these main characters that we've been following, even with Joel dying. Again, spoilers for season 2, but to be fair, that season wrapped up like a couple months ago, so sorry. But it just felt to me like adding those things in there took away from it, where with this movie they could have done that, right? They could have kept with the whole military thing. They didn't. They doubled down on the human drama. They doubled down on grounding it, and I appreciated that. This felt less like a zombie movie and more like a drama. And, 28 days later, 28 years later, very much like that too. But they just added more military in with those than this one.
Well, this was written by Alex Garland, right? So, I mean, you have to anticipate a fair amount of character development and real attention to that, because I mean, Ex Machina is one of my favorite character studies, and
Me too.
in the last 15 years easily. And even though I'm not necessarily a huge fan of like Annihilation overall, I still think there's a lot of character development in that. So I could see that being a reason for this to have a lot more drama. And obviously, I mean, Danny Boyle's an Academy Award winning director.
Yep.
So he's not just going to go and make a balls out horror film like he did 20 something years ago with 28 Days Later.
On DV tape. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Glorious.
Hey, I mean,
glorious DV tape.
He shot 28 Days Later with the same Canon XL2 is what he shot that on. And that's why I made my first movie, It's My Party, I'll Die If I Want To, on. So.
I have it over here on my DVD shelf.
It's a lot better than It's My Party, I'll Die If I Want To, because he at least had a cinematographer and a gaffer. I didn't know what the shit any of that.
Oh, come on. I love It's My Party, I'll Die If I Want To. So I seriously do. And I'll use this as a moment to sidebar on how I met Tony. And I think I mentioned this in the last time Tony was on the podcast, which was all the way back on episode 102. But
now
we're on 365.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a while.
A year. 365. One episode for an entire year.
I think
for
I
the audience.
didn't have a daughter then. I think that's how long ago
You didn't.
was.
No.
Yeah, I didn't. But I met Tony at Horror Hound 2007 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's the first horror convention I ever went to. And Tony, I remember you literally at your booth, and you came up to me as I walked past, and you're like, "Hey, do you want to see a horror movie that's a choose your own adventure, like demon possession film?" That was your pitch to me. And I'm like, do we just become friends? Because yes, I do want to see that.
Yeah. Yeah, I might not have been as eloquent back then with my sales pitch as I am now.
No, it's still good.
I think I
good.
honed it in the last 18 years since we met, but
probably.
Yeah. But no, it's I mean, it's pretty cool that you've managed to maintain an interest in my career since meeting all that time ago. I literally was saying to somebody earlier today, this is my 20th year as a filmmaker. So it's hard to believe I've been doing it that long and haven't given up or anything yet. So, and
it's been very successful. That's, I think, the thing there is a lot of us who are indie filmmakers grind at it, and sometimes it doesn't work out, or we get, life happens, like that sort of happens. But I think with you, I think I mentioned this in the last time you were on, it's been impressive to me how you have continued to do it and grind it out, and it's turned out to be successful. I mean, when we last talked, you were not the programming director of Screenbox, and now you are. Now you're helping other indie filmmakers get their stuff shown with Bloody Bites and everything else like that. And that is something that, a lot of us aspire to be, is to be in that arena. So like, it's impressive to me, and I admire that in a fellow filmmaker.
I appreciate that. Thank you for the compliment. I honestly, I got to lend itself to my tenacity. It's like, I think I'm one of those people who doesn't want people to say, "Oh yeah, they talked the talk, but they couldn't walk the walk." I've never wanted to be a person that someone could look at me and say, "Oh, well, he didn't do shit, and he said he was a big deal and he didn't." And I've always said, if I'm not going to be successful, it's not because I didn't try. And it's the biggest advice I give every filmmaker. I literally was on the phone with a filmmaker earlier today asking me for advice. And it's just, you can't give up. I literally believe that if I would have given up any of the thousands of times that I had doubt in myself, doubt in this industry, anger and frustration at the people who have fucked me over a million times over in the last 20 years of my life, the friends I've lost, all of the negatives that I've gone through, and that a lot of independent filmmakers and independent artists go through. If I would have given up, I wouldn't be where I am now. And yeah, I feel incredibly fortunate right now. I'm literally on cloud 9 right now. You ask my wife, I've been walking around this house for the last week specifically. Can't tell you why, but
That's okay.
I am like, right now, so many wonderful things are going on surrounding the film world and myself and my film family, that it's like it really can pay off if you put the time in to be patient and to get better at what you do. You can never settle at like, okay, well, I made a movie, so I'm good enough. No, you're not. You're a human being, and you can always do better. And if you're not willing to admit that you do not know everything, far from it, in fact, for the most part, and most likely, and if you're not willing to surround yourself with other people and admit that one person cannot truly make a movie by themselves, then you're just going to continue producing the same stuff over and over again, and no one's really going to take notice. And obviously, there's the outliers. There's the one in a millions that go and end up achieving fame and success because of some random fluke of a scenario. But more often than not, I truly feel like it's tenacity and the willingness to continue to learn and grow from your experiences, especially the bad ones. You know, you got to pick yourself up and keep on fucking going, because if you trip and fall, or if someone trips you and you fall, and you just say, oh, well, that sucks, I'm not gonna get back up, or I'm gonna give up and I'm gonna do whatever else I'm gonna choose to do with my life that's not making me happy, not making me go after my dreams, then what the fuck's the point? You know?
Right.
I literally worked overnights at a water plant for 6 years. I worked midnight to noon.
I think you were working that when we last did an interview.
It was probably, right when I started that, somewhere around there. And so it's like, that job, it was great in the sense that it set me up with a really good retirement package. And
so you were living the fucking dream and you abandoned it?
Oh, dude. I mean, but it's, you have to understand something. I'm 45 years old. I literally had my 45th birthday 2 weeks ago.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you very much. You don't celebrate them when you get to be my age.
Well, John's 40. I turned 40 in September. So
yeah, see,
we're getting there.
Still babies.
But okay.
The last one.
The last 5 years, that really is the difference there.
I mean, I'll tell you what, it really is. Every year is a difference maker when you get into your 40s. At least it feels like that way for me. But all I'm saying is that, like, when I was 37 years old, I started telling myself, are you truly going to be a bartender for another 15 years, working paycheck to paycheck and not even having enough money to be able to afford an apartment for yourself? Or are you going to start making a change to improve your financial situation so that you can be a little bit more flexible and enjoy your life a bit more and be less stressed out? If there's one thing I don't want to stress about, it's money. And so I was given the opportunity to get that job, and I took it, and I'm glad I did, because it enabled me to get to the point where I'm at now. And fortunately, knowing the guys at Bloody Disgusting, enabled me to eventually get a position at Screambox, and so here I am now as the programmer of Screambox, like you said, and I'm just very excited about it, because not only am I able to basically watch horror movies and program horror movies for my job and get paid to do it while I sit in my office at home surrounded by horror nerd shit, but like on top of it, I also get to, like you said, I get to help showcase independent filmmakers' work through a platform like Bloody Disgusting and Screambox. And that is almost more worthwhile than any other aspect of the job. And now we're actually producing content. We just released episodes 3 and 4 of a show called The Trouble with Tessa that I was the supervising producer on. And that was all produced in-house with Cineverse and a group of Bloody Bites filmmakers that showed me tenacity and said we'd love an opportunity to make something for Screambox. And so we went and did it, So
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So don't give up, folks.
Don't give up.
Moral of the story.
And to transition that back to zombies.
Unless you have cancer, then let Ralph Fiennes shoot
well,
you with a dart.
Unless you get sick and you rot. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say Danny Boyle apparently didn't give up because he made this movie, this new one, 20 some odd years after the last one, which
it is an interesting
it's nuts.
franchise. Yeah, we got multiple years between each of these films, but now, you know, this one has a sequel that's coming out, I think, fairly quickly.
Yeah,
response.
Yeah,
but so, Brian, how did you take the whole, like, we finally get to Ralph Fiennes, we find out that, like, yeah, maybe he's got a creepy obsession with piling bones, but he is like a good man.
So here's my thoughts on this, because I was when I saw this, I was really trying to think about how this all fits. So one of the themes that kind of I hit on with this movie was that it's 28 years later, and society's moved on from the zombies, but they've lost a bit of maybe a little bit of that, living for life type thing. You know what I mean? And Ralph Fiennes' character, there's a thing that happens in all zombie movies that I think all of us can kind of agree on, and that's desensitization to death. Like, sure. you don't see people anymore, and you don't mourn people anymore because, one, you don't have the luxury of doing that, right? Like that's you're not having a burial for someone who just got shot in the head because they turned into a zombie, right? You're not really doing
one.
that.
Yeah, another one for the fire.
Yeah, it's the whole another one for the fire thing. So Ralph Fiennes' character, where he is obsessed with, he even says in the film, memento mori, of remembering death. I think he is that counter to that idea that remembering death is also part of remembering life, and that to fail at that, to lose that amidst the hellscape that is a zombie apocalypse, has the capability of being very damaging to society as a whole. Well, case in point, everyone thinks that he's crazy because he is piling bodies up and making sculptures out of them, because they're so removed from that experience anymore because of the time.
Well, also don't forget, Brian, I'm sure I'm butchering this, memento amore, I believe, also is like, don't forget to love. So yes, it's he don't forget that everyone dies, but also don't forget that everyone should love. And that importance of that, and this movie really is, outside of obviously all the religious iconography, which we can talk about, is a movie about life and death. Like, yes. If I was in 9th grade and I was like, it's about life and death, I mean, it's as generic of an example as you can get, but that really is, what it is, what it means to live, and what it means to accept with death.
Yeah. And I'm curious, Tony, have you seen these sort of parallels between celebrating life, celebrating death in other zombie films that share this? Because I think it's a thing that is kind of always under the surface, but never really brought up to bubble.
Yeah, I feel like there's got to be something like that in one of those movies, where like you see like a freaking, bulb of a flower coming out of the dirt or something amidst all the rubble, and you're just like, I don't know. I can't think of. I'm too old to have my memory serve me as it should with pulling random references from movies I haven't seen in a while. But yeah, I think that's probably a pretty common theme amongst zombie movies. Appreciate life and love life, because you may not be alive soon, and
it may be dinner. Maybe dinner.
Stephen and Peter, if you think about it, in Dawn of the Dead, like, we whooped him, didn't we? Whooped him, we got it all. He's like, yeah, buddy, we whooped him. We whooped him good. And just having to wait out of respect for your friend to come back just to put one between his eyes, because you're not going to do it when he's basically in a coma in between human and zombie.
Yeah. I did want to mention, because we haven't really talked about it, but there is a massive zombie dong in this film.
It was a prosthetic. It was the alpha of all alphas, which this really baffled my mind, because this is when I found out Ralph Fiennes, like, as a doctor, he doesn't want to kill even, he
took a Hippocratic oath to do no harm, even to the dead.
Yeah, the zombies, and so he just, like, when he knocks out our alpha male with a giant fucking wiener, and I'm like, hey, now's a chance to machete him in the neck and kill him. But he's like, no, we're just gonna leave Samson here, another religious.
He's got a name for him.
Yeah, because I don't kill, and it's just like, well, God bless you, dude. But
well, apparently it's worked. He's the only like living person on the island. Like, that's the thing, is that
he's the alpha of all the alpha. As we mentioned,
yeah,
some of them have evolved to become like better hunters. Like, somehow in their rage infested brains, they've been able to evolve to a degree, where they can like plot and plan and attack. And so this guy is probably the alpha of all the alphas, and he's out there looking for his baby. Because I
totally thought the baby was going to be a zombie baby, like we were going to have a Dawn of the Dead type moment. Like,
I feel like
I was like, when's the baby going to turn? It's going to no.
I feel like that hack fraud music video director already did it, so we didn't need to go there. But
here's the thing. I actually like Dawn of the Dead, the remake. That's like the only remake that I like. I know, Tony, you mentioned you like the Dawn of the Dead remake as well.
I did. It's a product of its time. I think that horror movies in general, late 90s, early 2000s, they're a little too flashy and overproduced, but ultimately I think that that's one of the better ones for sure. I like the characters in it. Ving Rhames is a badass. I like
He is badass in it.
Yeah, so I like a lot of people in that.
Well, I do like that Zack Snyder was like basically stealing from 28 Days Later. Went, what if my zombies were fast? Yeah, I could make a music video. That's a movie. Yeah, fuck you, Romero.
Yeah,
I piss on your grave even though you're not dead yet. Yeah, but
I just like it. Like, I like the vans that they like decked out, the buses. That
that was badass.
And stuff. And once again, one stupid person is the downfall for the entire situation. Yeah. They would have been perfectly fine driving those things to the sailboat, but egos have to get in the way. So
I forget who fucked them over on that one. What was it? The one girl?
I think it was two different. Yeah, I think it was. I haven't seen that in a long time, but
same here.
Yeah, I know at one point it was the chainsaw that was in the slit.
Yeah,
somebody gets moved or something, and they cut somebody in the bus, and that kind of starts it. I don't remember exactly.
Don't get in the way of a chainsaw. Like, how about that one? Stay the fuck back.
Yeah.
But Brian, what is your take on the baby and it coming out alive, and the idea that like hormones can change inside the body, that it wouldn't be a zombie baby? And
I think it's fucking dumb.
Well,
I think it's fucking. I'm sorry. I think it's fucking dumb. Like, I saw that, and I'm just like, biologically, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Because here's the thing: the blood is where the rage virus is at, right? Like that's how it works.
It's encased in the placenta, though.
Yeah, you still need blood to make a baby. Like that's how it works. So like, you can't tell me that the placenta is a filter for the fucking rage virus, and that the baby got healthy human blood from an undead being. Like, I'm sorry. I saw that, and I'm just like, I think I literally said in the theater, I'm like, bullshit. Because it's bullshit. Like, I know why Danny Boyle did that, because he had to have, again, like, the whole themes of this movie are life and death, right? So wouldn't it be funny if life literally erupted from death? Like, the baby is representative of that. Okay, great, good. I still call bullshit on it. It's still called. Well, yeah, this is a deep movie, Tony. That's the whole deal. But I saw that, and I was like, fucking bullshit. That would not happen. I'm sorry, that goes against the rules of science in a zombie movie.
Well, Brian, I think it's fair to say that neither of us are gynecologists.
No.
Or know anything much about women's reproductive health.
No,
So,
I barely know enough about my own reproductive things. What are you talking about?
Yeah. All I know is that I've aborted a
Mr.
lot of babies in the
Scientist.
middle of the night.
I know I got a ton of them in the trash over there.
The socks stand up on their own. But
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Tony didn't know he was getting this kind of podcast. That was going to be very chill. No, it's that kind of podcast.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm not easily offended.
Good.
well, I can present this.
You're talking about comregs and whatever the hell else.
I can present this to both of you guys. The movie kind of hints that, I would say, even with the bare bones of toxic masculinity, that the idea that if the apocalypse was to happen, that we would not regress from 2002, like which is the apocalypse happens in the first movie, or 2003, whichever one it was. I think it's 2002. Is that this society has regressed basically the 1950s. The women are there to do the laundry, do the cooking, take care of the village, and the men go off to war against the zombies, and do you think that something like this would happen if we end up in like almost a Handmaid's Tale if we were stripped of our technology and resources and medicine, and we had to survive on sequestered areas? Would it become almost like it was, many decades ago, or would there be actual equality depending on people's skill sets in those kind of worlds?
Tony, you're our guest. You answer that one.
I don't fucking know. I mean, I'm not. What would that be? Sociology? I don't even wouldn't even know where to go with that. I feel like younger generations who have grown up depending on technology at every moment of the day, I feel like they would have a hard time coping and adjusting their lifestyle. I think that ultimately, I feel like people would probably, and this sounds really cynical, I feel like people would just fuck themselves over ultimately, unless you're completely off the grid and available to be away from people. But at some point in time, someone's going to find you and they're going to end up fucking up your existence. So how's that for cynical?
That works. That works. I mean, one, I don't think it went to the 1950s. I think it went more to like hunter-gatherer times, like going all the way back to history of like that sort of separation. I don't know. I think it's a thing where society would get numb to things, like if anything, and that's again, I go back to like this movie is about society getting numb to death, like and mourning and the process of death and the process of mourning and grief and all of that. I think society would get numb to that because you're surrounded by it. Do I think that it would regress to like a Handmaid's Tale type thing? No. I'm gonna agree with you, Tony, to some extent. I think people would lose their shit by not having access to technology. And I think some people would be able to make it who were a bit more resourceful, or I would ask, as this one, people who have seen far more zombie and apocalypse movies would know exactly what the fuck to do. Or if they read Max Brooks's book, they would know exactly what to do. But I do think that I think a very small amount of people would be able to survive in today's age when you have access to everything, and losing that would like cause your brains to explode.
What I think is interesting, and I don't know if this is actual, from my point of view, chivalry, or if this is some kind of like deeply coded, chauvinism. Is that my instinct would be that even if there was a woman who would be more apt to go hunting in this world, as a guy, I would want to go out instead of her. And I don't know, again, I don't know if that is chivalrous or it is some kind of latent, toxic masculinity. I don't know. In that sense, like it reminds me of John Hammond in Jurassic Park when he's talking to Laura Dern, or and he's like, well, it really should be me going, even though I'm like this guy on a cane and I'm elderly. And she's like, dude, I'm like young and athletic and like, yeah, I'm going, but like I would probably be John Hammond in that situation where I'm like, I should go because like I'm a guy like Titanic, like women and children first, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that outlook is correct or not.
So it poses a very interesting question about these films, and again, that's why I love zombie movies. Not because there's always one person who's stupid who fucks the whole thing over, but just because it does present a lot. It presents a fertile ground for a lot of these questions to be asked. And, it doesn't always have to be societal stuff. It could be stuff like this, where you're presenting a very serious argument. This movie presents a very serious argument about death and life and losing that. I think that's ultimately what these movies do a really good job at, that I don't think any other horror film really can do, is present very clear arguments about much bigger issues than zombie films.
Yeah, because zombies are us. Right?
They are us.
Yeah.
We're the monsters. Yeah. Speaking of zombies, speaking of our guest here, I mentioned at the top of the show about how Tony has a new game show that he is working on called Better Luck Than Chuck. Tony, I got to ask you just first off, where did this idea for this game show come about from?
My wife, my awesome wife. We were laying on the couch one night watching a horror movie, which is what we do most nights, because she's tolerable of my need to watch horror nonstop. And we were just watching a horror movie, and she's like, "Have they ever done a horror trivia game show before?" And I was like, thinking for a minute. So I don't think they have. There's one-offs where there's like a trivia night at a bar or something, or at a film festival they'll do horror trivia nights. And I've seen reality shows that are kind of horror themed, like Fear on MTV back in the day. And there was that Elevator and whatnot, but never a horror trivia game. And so her and I just kind of, my wife, we've been together for 7 years now. And as she started getting to know my film family, some of my best friends that I make stuff with, they started roping her into doing art department stuff. And she really got an interest in being a part of the production design team on things like The Stylist and Revealer and Brooklyn 45. And a lot of these movies that our producing partners, Rob Stern and Sarah Sharp, were producing over the last 5 years, mainly during COVID when nobody was really doing anything. And my wife is a wedding like invitation and stationery designer. And so during COVID, there was no business for weddings. So she had a lot of availability to do graphic design work for these movies that my friends were producing, all the while I'm working overnights at the water plant. And so we always kind of said, like, if we're going to produce something one day, let's make sure that it's something we're excited about. And so we both got excited about the idea, and we started, developing the concept together, and she built a pitch deck. And we started just kind of talking to people about it, just seeing what interest there would be from our film family to help us make a horror game show. And when Rob and Sarah heard the idea, they instantly thought it was a great idea. And so, we just started developing it from there. And then, thankfully, again, because of my connections with Brad and Tom at Bloody Disgusting, basically Brad put us in touch with Universal Studios, and we were able to get Universal to sponsor or provide the prize, which is a grand prize trip to either Halloween Horror Nights. It's late. I'm having a hard time talking now. Either Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando or in Hollywood. And so as soon as we got that grand prize locked in, we were like, we have to do this. Like, we literally attracted Universal Studios to this show. So how do we not find a way to make it happen? And so we did. We raised the money and we shot a 6-episode season. So you've basically got 5 episodes where you've got 3 contestants who are horror fans from all over the US. that we did a contestant outreach search in January of 2024 and found 15 contestants to fly into Chicago. And excuse me, we shot 6 episodes, and the top 3 finalists from the first 5 episodes then come back for the 6th episode, which is the season finale, and they compete for that trip. But it was pretty awesome. You know, we got a lot of really great sponsors on board, like Fright Rags and Trick or Treat Studios and Severin Films, Terror Films and Terror Vision Records and Chattanooga Film Festival, Panic Fest, and so many others, you know. And so stuff that horror fans like us would legitimately love if they were like, well, I didn't win, but I got some fucking really cool t-shirts from Fright Rags and a couple of soundtracks on vinyl from Terror Vision and whatnot.
Hell yeah.
So
Yeah.
we got all that. And then like the icing on the cake was literally just, we got director questions, video questions from people as big as Mike Flanagan and
Wow.
Chad Villella from Radio Silence. And, you know, really great people like BJ McDonnell, who did Studio 666 and Hatchet 3. And, you know, Anthony Cousins, who did Frogman. And Gary Sherman, who's a freaking legend. I mean, he did Dead and Buried and Raw Meat and freaking Poltergeist 3. And so once all of that stuff kind of fell into place and we started building the set, and my wife decorated, you know, did the whole production design. So watching her decorate the set and build out this 1960s style kind of mid-century basement where our host, the widow, has locked up her dead husband, Charlie, and has kept his body rotting down there ever since she killed him in the 70s for reasons we are unaware of. It just really started taking shape and looking great. And yeah, it turned out so fucking good. So excited about it. It's fun. It's funny. Adam Michaels, who plays Charlie, and Alexis Alata, who plays the widow, are tremendous game show hosts. Their on-screen like dynamic is just it's real. You know, the chemistry that they have is tangible. And all of our contestants were great. It was a blast to shoot. Everybody on set was part of our family, and everybody had fun and was willing to put in the extra effort to make sure it was tip top. And so, yeah, I mean, we're pretty excited about it. So we premiered the pilot episode in May at a festival in Denver called Series Fest. And so now we're just, you know, shopping it around and looking for a distributor to sell it to and get it out there. So.
Fantastic. So you said it's a game show. It's not like a reality TV game show, right? Like where you're not like, okay, so it's a legit game show.
So it's a lot of fun.
That's good.
You know, the characters are these characters that, I mean, Charlie is literally the Scotchworthy logo is Charlie.
Yep.
I mean, you know, I've got it tattooed on my leg for Christ's sake. And then the widow, I just always love the idea of a dual host dynamic, because imagine if Elvira and the Crypt Keeper hosted a show together.
Yes.
We've never seen that before.
Nope.
And there's been a couple of really cool game shows that have done that, like When Ben Stein's Money had Ben Stein and
Jimmy Kimmel.
Thank you. And then, you know, you've got MTV's Remote Control, which was the host, but then he had the couple of like co-host, sub-host people.
Colin Quinn. Yeah.
Colin Quinn. So that's basically what we did is when we started building the idea for the game show, then we were like, well, I've been wanting to perpetuate the widow and Charlie into something else, whether a TV show or another movie or something, because I've always loved those characters and they've been in my head for 25 years at this point. So we were like, let's have them be the hosts of the game show. It'll give it that much of an extra, like, kind of fun horror element to it, plus the comedy element to it. And so it's a lot of fun when, like, the show starts out, the widow comes down to the basement. She says hi to Charlie. The announcer, which is the disembodied voice, you know, kind of introduces the show. And then she blows a kiss, a widow's kiss, and the contestants appear behind the podiums magically, like Bewitched. Or like, you know, I Dream a Genie. And we did all that fun, like stop cut, you know, animation type stuff to make things appear and disappear. And so it's got that kitschy fun to it. And yeah, so it's basically just horror fans. They do 2 rounds of trivia, and it's everything from like movie trivia questions. There's video clips from movies that we got licensed to us. There's really fun categories where like Charlie will say a quote from a movie, and Adam does a very good job of like impersonating people. So he'll do a quote from like The Shining, for example, and then they have to buzz in and guess what movie it's from, and or he'll read a tagline from a movie poster, and so then the final round, whoever gets the most points in the first 2 rounds, they go into Charlie's workshop, which is the back room of the basement, and the doors open up and reveal this cluttered closet of a workshop that Charlie obviously hasn't used in 50 years because the widow killed him and he's a corpse. He just sits on the couch and can't move below the neck. And so that's where all of her shit is just being thrown into for storage. And so these contestants have to dig through all of this clutter, kind of like Finders Keepers or Secrets of the Hidden Temple.
I was going to say that's Legend of the Hidden Temple right there.
Legend of the Hidden Temple, not Secrets. Yes. And
just
they
put that monkey together.
Because we wanted it to have that element. We talked about doing some double dare, like spraying people with blood and stuff. And ultimately we veered away from that, which I think is really great. That was something that my wife suggested, and I'm glad that she convinced me not to do the double dare style of the show. So that's kind of that fun interactive part, is for them to get out from behind the podium and they dig through and they got to find 6 iconic horror movie items like Freddy's sweater and the hook from I Know What You Did Last Summer and that type of stuff. So it really does test your trivia for everything from, Black Phone and the more modern movies all the way back to Nosferatu and Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and everything in between. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun. I've seen so many instances of people like shouting out answers while they're watching it, or even on set while we were watching the contestants in the workshop, where you'd like look over and I'd see my grip, who's a horror fan, and he'd be like, "It's right fucking there. It's right fucking there." And he's like looking at the like, "It's right in front of your fucking face. Like, look at it. How do you not see Freddy's fucking sweater?" I love it because you can tell that horror fans are going to love this show. I truly believe that deep down that people are going to love it. And it's a gateway. It's like you guys have, at least Brian, you said you have kids. You can watch this with your 5-year-old and they will think it's funny. They will think it's visually attractive to them, and it's going to teach them about horror movies. And, that's the exciting thing, is that I really hope that The Widow and Charlie become kind of this next generation's horror hosts.
Well, T, can I watch it with my dogs though?
You go out with your dogs.
They'll be fine.
He doesn't have kids. He doesn't have kids. He has dogs.
There's a couple of questions of like Cujo.
There you go.
I don't think we had a man's best friend.
So Trigger. Yeah.
Yeah. There's some questions in there with animals. Yeah, we've got a category, foaming at the mouth. That's the killer animal question. So
I love it. It sounds a lot like horror themed Jeopardy.
Oh yeah.
And I love that concept because, the Jeopardy is one of those things where like you interact with it. Just, you said, like, you watch Jeopardy and you're like, the answer because of whatever it is. But like, horror fans are their own special breed. Like, we obsess over the smallest things and can pull out the smallest details. So like, I'm not surprised when you told me the grip literally was screaming like, how do you fucking not know Freddy's sweater's there? Or things like, the tall man's like ball from Phantasm or something like that. We all know those things. And people look at us like we're crazy because we know those things. Well, we are crazy, but like the normies out there are like, they'll never get it. But I love this because, it taps into that community of fans who just, like, there were multiple times where John and I were like, bullshit about horror movies, not when we're recording, but it's the same sort of thing. It's that communal nature. And I love that you're putting this together.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun that the horror community is as engrossed in horror as we are, because you really couldn't create something like this for any other subgenre. And it would have to be generalized pop culture like Remote Control was. And so I really like that the horror community can have something like this specifically curated for them. But that's also stressful because we all know how critical horror fans can be.
Oh, yes.
And so it's very important. And I don't know everything. I love horror. I've loved it since I came out of my mom. But at the end of the day, it's like I don't know everything, and so
There's
it can
so
be
much
very
to know.
stressful.
It's also changing every year. It changes every year.
I mean, that's the good thing, is that we'll never run out of content to pull trivia from. But yes, like we literally had to go back in and add years to like Nosferatu question, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, because the new one's coming out.
Yep.
So it's like, when you could have just put I Know What You Did Last Summer, now you got to put 1990, whatever year that came out, because people need to identify the original, not the remake.
Right.
There are 3 films named Halloween.
There you
now.
Yeah. There you go. But and like we do it sometimes where we would be subtle with it. Like there's a question where it's like, who plays the dental patient in Roger Corman's Little Shop of Horrors? Not the 80s Little Shop of Horrors. It's Roger Corman's, the original. Exactly. So we stumped the contestants on that one. I'll give that little bit away. But
that's sad.
They clearly don't listen to the opening bumper of this show.
They were literally thinking of the 80s version.
Yep.
So it said Bill Murray, Steve Martin, and then the third person didn't guess it. But it's really cool, because we were literally on a Zoom call with an executive, a studio executive, the other day, and she was like, I was like, I'm a fan. Like I was watching it and I was like, I'm going to do really well because I'm a horror fan and I have been for my whole life. And she's like, I got to do better. I got to train. I got to study. It's like, I got to learn this and this and this. And so I really love that it is challenging to people, but at the same time, it's not, we don't want people to call it the Jeopardy of horror trivia, because as much as it is challenging, we want it to be entertaining.
Right.
And I think that there's a distinctive difference. I'm not watching Jeopardy and being entertained by it. I'm like being tested by it. I'm being educated by Jeopardy. This show, though, there is the element of education and the hope that people will check out things from subgenres they may not be familiar with, or movies from a generation that they're not familiar with, but or introduce new fans to the genre, like I said, as with children watching it with their parents. But I think that it's even just, it's the entertainment value of having these hosts. And Charlie doesn't just sit on the couch. If the contestant is doing bad, he gives them shit. He'll make
I love
fun of
that.
them. Oh, it's great. He does a good job of razzing them. He's not offensive, but he'll give them shit if they say a stupid answer, or if they, get something wrong, or if they're just not doing well. And
that fits in with the horror host ideology of it all. Like, we talk about like a Joe Bob Briggs or something like that. What sells that is the personality. So like, you got to have the personality along with it. And I mean, don't get me wrong, like Jeopardy was Alex Trebek, RIP, but like, you're right. It's a test for you. But although I always found Alex Trebek to be kind of funny, especially in his later years. But I do understand what you're saying. But I think I think the fact that you are meshing these two things that sound like they shouldn't go together, but they magically do, that whole horror host thing with the trivia, that I think is the thing that makes this thing really unique,
Brian,
and entertaining.
Brian, forget Joe Bob Briggs. Dr. John Wollscroft is the wave of the future.
Oh,
baby.
come on.
That was my Gabbo moment from The Simpsons. Gabbo.
Well, when we're done recording, I'll show you guys the trailer if you want.
Oh,
that we
definitely
see what the show looks like. But yeah, we're just really excited about it. So, the reception's been really good. Like I've seen a bunch of posts on your Instagram account for it, but like by and large, like coming out of Series Fest, was the reception really good? Oh, it was incredible. So obviously during the screening, theater was filled with 200 people, and Series Fest is a television show, series festival. It's not a horror festival. Right. So the majority of the people there were not horror fans. And after the screening ended, well, first of all, during the screening, the entire theater was laughing throughout a good majority of the episode, which made us really happy. And then there were a lot of people shouting answers out, which was really great. And so then after it was done, they had a Q&A with all the people who had a episode that was running during our block. And then after that, as we were walking out of the theater, we literally had people stopping us. And then also in the after party in the lobby, people would come up to us and were like, literally at least a half a dozen people were like, I'm not even a horror fan and I would watch this show, because it
Love
was
that.
funny. The hosts were really great. We loved their chemistry, and it was just fun. And then there were the people that were like, I'm on the fringes of being a horror fan. My friends are horror fans, and this makes me feel like I could become more involved in their conversations. And then, like I said earlier, there's the other people who are a horror fan who either are like, oh my God, I forgot about that movie, I got to go watch that again. Or I didn't even know that movie exists, but that sounds really cool, I want to go watch that now. And so the reception's been really great. And, we've had some pretty nice write-ups about it. And it's tough because, we're obviously all really excited because it's done and we're ready to get it out there. So we're like eager and we want to promote it and we want to show people clips and release the trailer. But you really can't do that until you know what the distribution strategy is. So right now we're just trying to bide our time, build up our social platforms with followers, with, just sharing the little tidbits of images and stuff that we can. So
It's the fun waiting game. It's not fun.
not fun. But
Not
one
fun.
thing that 20 years of being an independent filmmaker has taught me is patience,
Right.
For sure.
It all goes back to that. You can survive a zombie apocalypse, and you can also be successple in filmmaking if you
survive
have
the filmmaking industry. Yes.
There you go. There you go.
Yes.
Wow. Fantastic. Fantastic. I am like, I've been following you and what you've been doing with your game show for a bit. I didn't know to the extent of it just because we haven't had a conversation about it. I know, but like, I am excited to see it. And I really hope that it gets picked up, that it gets out there, because I don't know about you, but TV kind of sucks for the most part. Like, it's not terrible, but it's not great either. And especially unique ideas like this, it's fun to see.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So like, I don't know about you. I think TV kind of sucks sometimes.
Well, hey, Brian, there's the Late Show with Stephen Colbert out there. So it's
I like that.
Uh-oh.
I like that. I like that.
I just think that there's something to episodic content. I love these mini series now that have come out for the last like 10 years with, The Haunting of Hill House and Stranger Things and stuff.
Yeah.
I really love how you can build a narrative over the course of multiple episodes like that. So I'm really
just glad it's not reality TV. Like I'm perfectly honestly, I'm glad it's not, because when you said game show, like immediately, like I've seen game shows where it's like Shark Tank or something like that, and they're kind of like they build in the reality TV element to it, and I just find that inauthentic.
No, this is traditional game show, 70s, 60s, 80s game show.
Love it.
So yeah, we're really excited. So thanks for helping us promote it a little bit to your audience. I hope that they go to Better Luck Than Chuck on Instagram. Give us a follow.
I was going to ask you that.
Yep. Please give us a follow. You can find me at Scotchworthy on Instagram, like Scotch, bottle of Scotch, worthy. We are not worthy. Yeah. Otherwise, go to Screenbox. If you're a horror fan, you should have a subscription to Screenbox. There's lots of really great stuff on there. I've been doing my damnedest to curate some pretty cool content and a really fun visual user interface for the platform, and lots of really cool stuff coming out. We got the Toxic Avenger remake releasing in a couple of weeks in the theater.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Dude, it's so fucking fun. It is such a good movie. I'm not even saying that because I work for the company. It's so good.
And I was a little afraid about it. I was a little afraid when I saw it was getting out there, because I'm like, a remake of one of the best B cult films out there. Okay.
The screener I watched had Cineverse printed across it in a watermark the size of Nebraska, and I still loved the fuck out of the movie, even with that obnoxious watermark. Macon Blair did such a tremendous job of making it funny and paying like the proper amount of homage to Troma, without being too corny, because modern audiences, I think they still want it to be polished. And then it's got the big budget of like not only names like Kevin Bacon and Elijah Wood and Peter Dinklage, but then on top of that, you've got great gore and special effects work, decent production value. I'm really excited about it because I think it's going to do well. And I think it's a great follow-up to our success with Terrifier 3. And then we've got the Silent Night, Deadly Night remake coming out later this year.
Oh, I didn't know about that one.
Yeah. So I just saw the teaser for it, and I'll tell you what, it looks pretty damn fun. I'm not going to lie. The teaser is pretty cool. So I'm
Nice.
excited to get a cut of that here in the hopefully the near future to check out how the edit's coming along.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, Tony, it's been an absolute pleasure
Yeah.
talking zombies, talking about your work in this episode. We gotta do it more often than 300 some odd episodes later.
Sure.
But yes, absolute pleasure. Definitely check out Tony at Scotchworthy and check out Better Luck Than Chuck. And follow it, please, because we need more unique projects in the horror industry, and it doesn't get more unique than this, and I really look forward to seeing it. John, where can they find you at on the internets?
You can find me over at Instagram and Facebook, and you can find me over at JDubs Video Nasties. I just recently dropped my So Many Questions on the Lost World, just trying to ride that whatever wave is left of Jurassic Park Afterbirth. And I have an episode that I'm about to shoot now on American Beauty. Bear with me. I tried to put in as many jokes as I could, but obviously when you're dealing with Kevin Spacey and the themes of that movie, it's going to be a little more serious than normal, but I tried to find ways to put appropriate jokes in between things in there to kind of lighten the mood. But that one, yeah, it's going to be a little more heavy, but that's
It's gonna be a fun one, though. It's
Yeah.
gonna be a fun one.
Yeah.
Of course, if you have loved this podcast, please do me a favor and share it. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with all your friends who love zombies and all types of horror monsters, of course. And if you also want to follow our podcast, you can do so by going to cinemapsychoshow.com/follow. You can hit the little buttons there, and you can follow us on your favorite audio platforms of choice. And of course, you're watching us here on YouTube. Hey, thanks for doing that. Please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and hit the little bell for post notifications, because the YouTube algorithm doesn't like us if you don't do those things. And maybe leave a comment here or there. Let us know your favorite zombie film and what you thought of 28 years later. With that said, we will see you next time.